Hello, hello. So, what is this random stream about? Well, let's get a few things out of the way to begin with. Music. I'm going to put it in the chat so it appears. And again, if you have an interest, you can use it. It's music by Owned or Owned 3D, however you want to say it. It's just some pretty good, actually, considering it's completely free. Royalty free, free forever, free everything, so you can stream it on Twitch without huge impacts to getting DMC'd or anything else like that. You know, it's specifically designed, they've created it, and yeah, it seems pretty nice of them. So that's there. And what am I talking about in this stream? What is a beginner's guide improvement concepts? And what is Forge Alliance Forever? I think you can probably see on my screen. I've got the Forge Alliance Forever website. And you know, for some of you, what's been kind of Forge Alliance? Well, you know what? Those are things I'm not going to go into, because if those are the sorts of questions you've got, then that's for a completely different super beginner's guide. Because effectively, what we're looking at here is a game that's been around for a very long time. It's got to be probably the best RTS game ever made. I'd love it if they kind of redid it, but they've tried, and other things haven't really worked. And to be honest, the guys over at Forge Alliance Forever have done an absolutely superb job of balancing. They've even added another race. There's even a cooperative campaign that they've added into it, so you and a friend can play together. So in some ways, you know, why do we need a new game? Added to that, buying this game, because you do need to buy it on Steam and then link it to this Forge Alliance Forever. But it comes down to sort of silly price. I'm sure it's like I'm talking UK here, but £3.75 or something like that. You know, when it's on a Steam sale, so it's really cheap to pick up, and it's yeah, really good game. Anyway, most of you probably already know that. Certainly, something I play a fair bit. And this definitely isn't going to be an in-depth guide to strategies, to units, to specific army makeups, or you know, which race is the best, or anything like that at all. You know, there's probably some Supreme kind of Forge Alliance players, but who don't have Forge Alliance Forever. And again, I recommend that. They've hugely improved the netcode. One of the biggest issues early in the days of vanilla Forge Alliance and Supreme Commander was that you'd get desyncs, people would disconnect halfway through a game, which is just rubbishy, especially if you've been like an hour into the game. Touch wood, ever since using FAF and their new netcode and net client, I have to say I've not experienced any desyncs, so I think that's a thing of the past. You can now reliably play this online, you know, wherever you want. And you know, just to sort of prove that, here you go, currently hosting 1,500 players, running 262 games. You see the multiplayer people here. There's lots of information. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the size of some of the units you can build. But again, we're not going to talk about that. You can see here in the United Kingdom, there's 223 people playing now. I wonder where the biggest players are. It's got to be sort of UK to an extent. Oh, Germany, that's quite a lot there as well. So again, you can see there's a lot of people playing. Russia. Yeah, and you can again browse all this. This is like players in lobby, not necessarily players playing all the time. And again, purchase it. Brilliant game. Why would you not? And again, great that these guys have come up with this client to download. And it's basically doesn't really change much. You know, it's not a huge graphics overhaul with loads of stuff like that built into it. It's basically a game, sort of lobby creator. There's competitions. Again, like I said, the co-op. So it's just like a collection of maps. So it just connects to the game as you would have it installed, but runs side by side it effectively, enabling you to play with slightly modded units and stuff. Oh, Mr. Arrow's here. Does it? Okay. I mean, like, you're not. you're not talking 4K remastering, I guess is probably what I'm talking about. You know, like some things do, but yeah, it improves it. Yes, exactly. It makes it playable, I suppose, is probably what I would say for modern day hardware that the old game wasn't. So again, if you're playing it without Forza Alliance Forever, then you're doing yourself a disservice, I would suggest as well. Yeah, not going to talk too much about this other than just kind of definitely say if you're playing Supreme Commander, you should be playing it with Forza Alliance Forever. And on the chat is Mr. Worry, I still don't know how I'm saying your name properly. I'm probably saying it wrong. Anyway, but this is brilliant because actually, for the AMA part of this, he's going to be significantly more qualified to answer any questions because you have kind of done some testing, I think I'm right, on certain bits and contributed to an extent. You're definitely kind of a significant member of the community, I would say, is my understanding. So again, you know some of these things, but this is definitely more of a basics video than or stream even than probably you know, this is going to sound really noddy, everything that I'm going to go through, but some of it in fairness is stuff I've learned from you in the game, which I think is a good thing. So let's go into this. It's not going to be again a deep dive into strategies, into units. It's just kind of a 7-page doc for an in-depth video of the client, of just the client. I mean, that would be very cool. I'll have to make sure that gets. Yes, it is a cool client. Again, that's not my goal. My goal is to sell FAF a little bit. So, i.e., get people who might play Supreme Commander definitely onto Forza Alliance Forever. Because again, more players, that would be good as well. And to try and break the difference between someone who's kind of played a bit of Supreme Commander and knows that there are 3 tech levels, knows what experimentals are, has built some units, into the more sort of nuanced build orders and a few things like that would perhaps enable people to experiment with some concepts that they will then learn from and then experiment some more and potentially find improvements, kind of iterate through it in a bit of the way that I found the game, but can be a bit confusing if you're not into websites and spreadsheets and stuff like that. The top row I've just recently now goes to a new subpage and updated the contribute page. Okay, let's have a quick look at that while we're here then. So this one. So here we go. Look, there's me live. So nice. Like this, you can find out there's another couple of people playing. There's another streamer that I was having a bit of a look at one point. And I noticed he was playing Supreme Commander with one of his friends, Digital Darren Games, I think. And it was interesting because I was having a bit of a chat with him and saying you should really have a go with Forza Alliance Forever, and he was, he was kind of listening a bit, but don't get me started with that stream. Yeah, I think he took on board some of what I was saying, but I'm not sure he really is that into the game. I suspect it sounded more like his friend was into the game, and was kind of getting him to play almost under duress. But you got to start somewhere. So, but yeah, it'd be again, people like that, if they could potentially get into FAF a bit more, if they could perhaps watch some of how I do stuff in this game. So I'm going to try and talk about the kind of the shortcut keys I'm using, just that speed things up a bit. Again, really basic stuff, to be honest, and there's probably a ton of videos out there like this, but just thought it might be helpful for streamers potentially like Digital Iron Games. A bit of a shout out there for him. But yeah, so I have a 2-page to-do list of stuff I want to do for FAF. So, and is anyone going to help you with that to-do list? And what is that to-do list? Is it lots of coding, or is it just features? And is it features that you'd want to push to someone else, or is it? Or is it just a wish list? Creating a system from scratch. What do you mean by system? Awesome. Tell you what, that's the other thing to say as well. This isn't a mothballed project that did some great things. This is something that still keeps getting better. And I think that's some of what Mr. Worry is talking about. Oh, quick question while you're watching as well. How's the music? Is it way too low that you can't even hear it at all? Or is it too loud that it's distracting? Just trying to play around with the sort of levels it should be running at. Okay. Enough ambience, good. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. That's a reasonable amount of that isn't directly game related. Again, it's sort of more community related. You know, like FAF website overhaul. As you mentioned, the fact that you now got some of these links which make it easy to find stuff, which I think is really good. Custom veto system. Would that be vetoing players or maps, or just are we thinking units, or so you could join a lobby and then veto nukes, or are we thinking again more kind of, I don't know, to be honest, I've not really come across sort of any abuse in the people. Maps, faction selection of tournaments. Okay, yeah. I've always, okay, here's a good question for you as well, which again some players may find useful. I'm also going to export this to YouTube once done as well, so some people potentially could find it. But from a tournament's perspective, I literally only play FAF with some of my friends, or with Mr. 141 who started chatting to me a bit like we are now on stream, and asked to play, and why not? More the merrier, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I've always kind of assumed that the tournaments, or kind of playing seriously, for want of a better phrase, other than just custom games, is just a jump too far for my skill level. And I don't particularly consider myself a bad player either, but I just know there's a lot of really good players out there as well. Is that true? Am I right thinking that way? And I don't mean that in a harsh way. You're not going to insult me by saying yes, you're not good enough for competitive. Okay. I knew the answer was going to have the word depends in it, or sort of something along those lines. I'm guessing there would be skill levels to the competitive part of it. Let's see. Yeah, it's for the top of the top. So not so much tournament, but if in the I'm guessing, I've never done it before, but of course you've got the queues in the client itself, the 1v1 queue, the 2v2 queue, that you could join and play with people. And would that use your game rating to match? I kind of assume it would, but again, it's not something I've tried. And while you're here, and you definitely know these things, it's almost like an ask me anything, but you've come on, so I'm now asking you lots of questions. Hopefully you don't mind. Okay, so it doesn't use your standard game in-game rating. Okay. So effectively, when you start, you don't have a 1v1 rating, I'm assuming, and then as you play and you win or lose, it then records your... Oh, no. Okay. 2 skill, not elo. So... Okay, so yeah, so as you play games, then it will learn where your skill is at. I need to look into... This is why you can go negative. Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I need to try some more in depth on the wiki. Cool. I shall just have a quick look at that whilst we're here. 1v1 ladder? Or is that the ladder? Is that the same as the 1v1 queue? Ladder rating of the past year can be found on 1v1 leaderboard on the main FAF website. So again, this is just another clear example of the sort of thing that FAF adds to this game and brings this game. We've got some modern features here in the client. I mean, this is interesting. So matchmaking system put in place to help you on roughly skilled players. I need to give this a try at some point, but that's kind of getting slightly away from potentially the content of this video, although not so much. Again, this is the advertisement part of why you should basically be getting into Forza Alliance Forever over other stuff. The unit database. I mean, I am. Yeah, my friends tell me about 80% of the wiki is out of date. Yeah, this is what I was. It's one of those things, isn't it? Most is still valid. Absolutely. As the core concepts of the game are still the core concepts of the game. I wonder where the unit database goes to, because that's now built into Spooky Kit. Yeah, I think it is. I think this one is the one that is actually reasonably up to date. I mean, I'm a numbers geek. My friends do not tease me. That's the wrong phrase. But they definitely have a laugh at the fact that I'll turn anything into a spreadsheet. And so having numbers, all the numbers, is great, because you can kind of look at stuff again. How much does it cost to build stuff? I mean, don't get me wrong. This isn't what I'm suggesting anybody does, and it will only get you so far. Which is one of the concepts I was actually going to talk about. I can't post a link here, can I? That I don't know. That's my down to Twitch. I'm assuming you can't, because you said it, but I haven't set anything up to suggest that you can't post a link. I don't think. It's probably just a default that I might need to change if you can. But I am actually in the client, so you could ping me a message on the client, and I could possibly post the link, if that's helpful. If there is something you'd like me to post. Depends obviously where you're watching. If you're watching on your mobile phone and stuff like that, then obviously that won't work. But yes, try it version 2, work in progress. Yeah, so there's just loads of features with this, and all of these, you know, the units have been balanced from you know, the original FAF as well. So, for example, I remember when you could just basically spam build these guys. So these broadsword heavy gunships, and if you got enough of them, you just kind of blow up whatever the hell you want. But yeah, there's a lot more balancing that has gone on, and most stuff now is defendable if you see it coming. I'm just going to show you something I'm working on from the mod collection. Aha. Okay, well I should be able to. Do you want me to copy this into the chat so other people can see, as well as then perhaps bring it up on the screen? Don't mind. Okay, well you know what, I'll bring it up on screen and everyone can see it, and then let's just open another tab. Okay, cool. Oh, there's a nice link here, just a little plug for GitHub, Mr. Worry. I'll also just plug it into here, so people can see. Let's just make sure I copy it all properly into the chat. There we go. So people should be able to follow that and have a look. If obviously you're sharing it, and we're going to post a link to this on here. And again, not that this has like millions of viewers coverage. What's the battery icon? Just out of curiosity, in the top left up there. Adjust the FAF balance to compensate for better Phantom X games. Balance possible. Adjust the FAF. Okay, so this is. Yeah. The top tabs work. Cool. Total Mayhem Light. Discards most units found in Total Mayhem. Remaining units have been rebalanced. Okay. Yeah, so this is. We use these mods when playing on stream with Brinker Insanity. So create to maintain by Worry. Online repo is available at GitHub. So this is going to be then a bit of a kind of curated, is that the right word? List of sort of some of the mods that, yeah, some of the good mods to add in. I like it. Certainly, I would be keen on things like this. We talked mods as well, didn't we? Some of the things that do add extra features or sort of benefits, or just again, not cheats, but enabling simpler stuff. Good phantom balance. Mod vault by searching for phantom balance patch. So we go to. Okay, I see. So what you've done is you've shifted the paragon. Okay, yeah. So yeah, so when you install this, I'm guessing then it changes. Yeah, you can actually look patch notes, which is this bit. Yeah, cool, fine. So what do you do in version 45? Structure health. So is this kind of a what are we saying here? Additional, a curated balancing patch that is more than the balancing that FAF does to vanilla subcom and Force Alliance, and this is kind of another step if you want to play with this. Okay, to make the Phantom mod. Okay, here's a question then. What's the Phantom mod? Compensate better for Phantom X games. Yeah, so what's the Phantom mod? That's probably a huge question, perhaps. Is that on there? No, these are just kind of... It would be in the mod vault, I'm assuming. Got the client open another window out of curiosity. Mods. Oh, so it's FAF game time. At 7 minutes, everyone gets to vote on how many phantoms there will be in the game. At 8 minutes, a random selection of players will be designated phantoms. The objective is to eliminate all phantom players, or if you are a phantom, eliminate all players. Phantom get slightly increased resources. If they break alliance with all innocent players, this bonus increases further. Of course, at which point you break the alliance. This reminds me of not the same, clearly, but well, obviously the more recent thing is Among Us, but yes. But also, we've got F-Odin's here. F-Odin, I think it's F-Odin, isn't it? Remember rightly. There was a Warcraft 3 mod which was quite fun in a custom game, and it would cycle between night and day, and someone basically at night would turn into a vampire and be able to like murder all the other villagers. But if they figured out who you were, then that was it. So yeah, I think there's, again, Among Us is a big kind of same kind of, can I hide who I am but still win? This sounds actually quite fun. I think this would. There's every now and again when some of the guys that I play with, we have odd numbers and we try and do a free for all, and it's fine. But then sometimes the skill difference that can exist there really can highlight a bit more. And either that or certain people generally get picked on. There's always one player, he knows who he is, who, it doesn't matter where I am on the map, how far away I am, he's always going to come for me. So this could be quite interesting to actually give this a try. So that's useful then, that there's also a balance patch for it to make it more playable. I've always kind of wondered to an extent some of these game types that are in the game. And the Nomads race, of course, as well. I want to give it a try. But yeah, Town of Salem in FAF. That is kind of cool. So yeah, I think we'll have to give that a try. And probably stream it, because that's probably going to be quite entertaining. I think that's what you've mentioned in the website, actually. We use these mods when playing on stream. Yep. I've not actually seen. Does I have to have a look around for some of Brink streams. Obviously, Brink Discord. Is it? Well, having said that, is it a person? Is it a collective of people? I'll leave that one there anyway for now. But right, what I was going to do is let's create a game just for me. Kind of community now. I'm just going to create a quick right game for me to play. Oh, Nemesis Dennis, thanks for the follow. And welcome to the stream. Always appreciate a follow. And the noise, because, you know, I don't have that many followers. So it's always nice to hear it go off. But anyway, quick game. So I'm just in the client. I'm not going to bother trying to change to the client to show how I'm creating the game. That stuff is pretty obvious. This is why I had music on the stream as well, because I knew there'd be times when I'll be doing stuff. Nemesis is raiding with a party of 4. Ah, awesome. First time I've ever been raided. Hi, Nemesis Dennis's raid party. Welcome to my my stream about FAF with some other people. So again, it's a bit of an ask anything in the chat. We've actually got a couple of what I would consider. I don't know what if you would have titles as such, but certainly Mr. Rowie and F Odin are in the game that we 5 versus 2 against them, and we still got our butts absolutely kicked. Yeah, I'd consider them experts at this game. So certainly. I'm happy to answer his questions as best I can, but these guys definitely have some of the more advanced answers. I hope that the people raiding from Nemesis Dennis actually like FAF as well. That would be useful. After that game, I became GB. GB? I forgot about that game. Because, yeah, it may not have been eventful for you, F Odin. It was eventful for me. Let's just get this. I'm just gonna pick. What am I gonna pick for a small starter? You know what? Let's just do that afterwards. I'll see if I can. That's the client, the amazing network adapter I was talking about. That's now running in the background. So I'm just picking a small map, just quickly to get a game going, so I can show you some of the stuff I do. I am going to put an AI in it, just so you can see some stuff, but I'm just going to put it on like normal. Maybe even just put it on easy, just so I can very much talk you through stuff and not feel like I'm getting murdered, and then concentrate and then completely lose everyone because I'm not talking and there's nothing interesting going on. Yeah, now let's change, if I can, the source. Alright, if I jump to the main screen now, I think, yeah, typical. There we go. There we go. Brilliant. Perfect. So 2v2, I've got a nice easy AI. Again, this is not for the likes of F Odin or Mr. Rory, although you feel free to critique and yeah, say whatever you'd like. Have I got it on? Yeah, I have got it on, not just sandbox and stuff. Hopefully the AI won't do anything stupid. Never look back. Alright, so I'm going to play Aeon. I don't particularly recommend that if you're a beginner you start with Aeon. I would suggest starting with UF or Cybran. And again, this isn't for true beginners. This is for people who, when I say you should play UF or Cybran, they know who they are. Hang on a minute. we on the same team? Why have I got visibility? Well, okay, you know what, we can see what's going on. I think this has got some settings that I carried over. So again, if you played this before, you know what mass points are. I'm not going to talk around those basics or anything like that, but in terms of good build orders, I always build... no, that's wrong, I don't build a mass point first. What am I talking about? Play out much for a country. Oh yeah. So, always start with a factory first. It could be tempted to go, you know what, I want to secure the mass, or I want to go for power, but actually, you've got enough resources when you start a game to go straight to building a factory. You know what, I'm actually just gonna, whilst I've got this music from Own 3D playing, let's turn off some of the music. Let's turn the music off, in fact. Okay, so you can see the AI here is built. T1 land factory is now building some power. So again, you notice that I've built this next to a mass point. Now, I haven't done this particularly well because this center circle here, which probably should have been over here if my command had actually started, is its build range. So, for now, by saying, right, I want to build that there, I'm going to have to tell my commander to walk all the way over, and because he's not within that circle, he'll walk all the way up to it, which is a bit slow. But again, still in terms of just some basics here. So I'm going to build 5 engineers. You can build as many engineers as you kind of think is useful at the time. But again, you can generally do this. You can build the one mass, and then I'd definitely build energy, and then effectively mass, and then energy. And why am I building these close? Well, you see these little lines. These indicate the adjacency bonus is active. Again, I want to get my engineer to work straight away, so go off and build that. Again, the less movement your commander can do, the better. So again, think about that in terms of build orders and queues and travel distance for some of the units you're building. So again, ideally I want to send this one now. I don't want to send him, you know, down here because I'm going to build another engineer. So let's get the engineer moving down and get him building the hydrocarbon. And at this point you can see actually mass and power is pretty good considering I'm building as well. So mass is coming through, so I want to keep building some engineers. And the reason why I want to keep building some engineers is because I want to upgrade these mass points pretty early, not straight away. I really want that hydrocarbon up first, although again other people would potentially say differently. At the moment I'm trying to keep a nice balance. Again, this isn't a, don't kind of look at this and think this is how you should. 7% mass reduction for adjacency, absolutely. So, effectively, for every unit that comes out of this, with the fact that I've now got a mass pump next to it, it's now reducing the mass needed for this by 7%. And that works if I do this as well. So if I now tell... I didn't want to do that. Or did I tell a different unit to do that? I told a different unit to do that, no, this one. So, obviously this computer player's coming out to build some stuff. But the more you build around it, the more you can get the benefit. So arguably you could fit 4 around it, and they'd all then get the 7% bonus, which is an absolutely viable tactic to do. Of course, I'm building this, getting some power. So again, early doors, you want the engineers out quickly. You want to build that factory first. There's no point in building the other mass stuff. You don't need the resources. At that point, you're actually you've got more resources than you can do, and the longer it takes you to build, the more mass actually, even from the get-go, you're actually wasting, because this is a streaming economy. Yes, you store stuff, but you have an income. So at the moment, the fact that I'm maxed out on the energy and there's 160 coming through means I am wasting it. So let's get some buildings going. Now at this point, again, you want to build some units. Notice how I've selected a few of those, put them into a queue, I've then hit the infinite build, which will basically keep building them non-stop. Again, I think I've managed to basically put it in a sandbox mode with the team. with the guy that's on my side. So you're not going to see any fines. But by building this, I can then right click and set a movement path, and they will just keep churning that out, and every time one's built there, it gets added to the other side. You may be aware of that, but I've definitely seen some streamers play, and they've not really been utilising these buttons here on the side. You can see it does explain it. And again, because it's a streaming economy, you can really make the most of the benefit of doing that. I.e., the stuff is coming, you've got the income, you can constantly build as long as you're balancing this economy, and it's very key to this game that you don't kind of crash out of either bit of economy. So this is where the next part really comes into, is that once you've got kind of roughly, again, this is not this is definitely not a case of if you do A, B, C and you do it in that order you will win games, because that's just not how it works. You're playing against people, and people will surprise you and do different things at any point in time. So whatever plan you have, and definitely have a plan, you need to adapt it to what's happening. And how can you adapt to what's happening? This is my next kind of biggest thing that I constantly go on about, and that's scouting. Try and know what your enemy is doing, where they've moved to, what units they're building. Are they trying to build in a certain direction? Because for most things there's a counter to almost everything in this game, pretty much. I mean, there's nothing that can't be countered, just to clarify, but it's not necessarily a case of one thing counters nothing. You might have to do combinations of stuff. So so definitely do scouting, and for scouting I tend to just build air scouts, and you can do infinite building for that as well. So if I get him just doing that, the next thing I'm also going to show you is the idea of pausing stuff. Again, I mentioned before about building units and pausing things. You can see this is now just constantly kicking out units. They're moving to where I've told them to. But also some nice shortcut keys that just help out. So I've selected one mass bump here. Now if I zoom out, it doesn't matter that I've zoomed out, I don't have to zoom out to do this, but if I now use the Control Z, you see it's highlighted all of my Tech 1 mass bumps. And if I hit the upgrade button, they all start to upgrade. And if I very quickly hit that upgrade button and then pause them, because otherwise it would absolutely, kill all my mass income, you see again that they're all paused now they're selected. So I can grab this bunch of engineers, and I could just, if I wanted to, just click on them, on the mass pumps, and they would go around and upgrade it with it being paused. I could then chain them to the other ones, and they were just basically doing it for me, but in that order, so not all at the same time, will in the background effectively upgrade all my mass pumps. And that's great, because if you then get into an early skirmish, you know that they're doing that. You haven't got to sit there and think, right, I need to manage that as well, because that can be a pain, a hassle. But also added to this, obviously you hold shift for cues, so if I tell them to move there, then tell them to move there by holding shift, they will then follow that, and at any point I can hold shift and C. But also, once you've got these in an upgraded state, so it doesn't work if they're not trying to be upgraded, i.e. they're ready for upgrading to level 2 or are level 2 or tech 2. But once they are, if you hold shift and then double right click on them, you can see it automatically adds in a build queue. This is without mods or any advanced features or anything additional you have to install, but then automatically adds in mass storage. Now this gets back to the adjacency bonuses that Mr. Wire was mentioning, with the 7% mass reduction for the mech's mass pump adjacency. Again, that's what these little kind of, well, for Aeon they're kind of like electricity pylons. That's what they're basically showing, that there's adjacency bonuses of these two factories and these powers against this factory. And the same thing happens here for storage. So you put storage around this, and actually you increase the amount of output that will come from this mass pump. So there are some different ideas from different people around whether this is actually a good idea. Do you want to do that? But again, as starting out, these are concepts for improvement. This isn't to say you've got to do this every time you do this. This is very much, these are some things to try and to play with, and to sort of go, right, that has helped me, but it's only got me so far. How might I be able to improve on that? And so you can see these guys are just going to do this, and if I say, right, we'll go and do, I'm not going to do that one next because there's a unit on it and it's just going to get in the way. But let's say this one, I can shift and right click on there, and again, they will most of the time, although it can be a bit quirky, build these and then move on. Sometimes you do get where they've done the upgrade, some of them will move on to do the next upgrade before all the storage is in place. But yeah, so why do my Alex is kicked on. Why do, you know, other than the adjacency bonus that increases the amount you get? Again, I'm not going to go into the maths of how much extra you get. You can have a think about that, but certainly it's not worth doing it until you're really at Tech 2, which is, I think, partly why the shift and double click doesn't build more of these, doesn't build the storages around it by default. Tech 1, if it's not set to already be upgrading, it's got to basically be on its way to Tech 2 or Tech 2 or more. But what's the point of these as well otherwise? Again, streaming economy, what you don't want to fall into the trap of is thinking, right, okay, so I can only build at the speed at which my economy is at, because it's not strictly accurate. I'm just going to get my commander throwing up a little bit more power here. Because with storage, you can then build to how much you've got stored, or a combination of how much you've got stored and what your income is. So effectively, what you're talking about from a storage point of view is buffers. Buffers for your streamed income versus what you're wanting to build. Certainly some of the bigger units late game cost an awful lot to build. So yeah, so bear that in mind. You can see these guys have gone off here, they've upgraded that one, they're now building these. And so again, you can just forget, this is the beauty of it. You know, if I was to just click on all of these and then go off and have a fight, then I know that they'll be doing that job. You'll notice on this one, if I do that, because it's already got the adjacency things, it will only build 2 of them round, and if I built 4 round, obviously it wouldn't do any at all. So next concept, one that I kind of, for ages, didn't really bother looking into that much, but noticed the difference, and it's something I think that Mr. Wari pointed out to me in one of my games. There are 2 types of upgrades to a building. You'll see with this one, if I want to upgrade it to Tech 2, the icon down here, I click on that and that factory will start upgrading. I tell my commander to make it do it a bit quicker and get this engineer on it as well. So this is upgrading my Tech 1 land factory to a Tech 2 land factory. And what we call this, because there's only one option at the time, is a HQ. So the idea behind this is that this is my first Tech 2 land factory, and because it's the first one, because there's been, you know, there are no others and nothing prior before it, it then enables effectively what I'd say that blueprint, the blueprint of a Tech 2 factory. I've built one. You know, metaphorically in game, my commander now knows how to build them, knows what they look like. I'm probably explaining this like terribly, but think of it that way. So when I then come to upgrade this one to Tech 2, I'm just going to pause because I'm not so bothered about building those Tech 1s anymore. When I come to upgrade this one, it will allow me to do so. Let's just cancel this build queue by right clicking. It will let me do so at a discounted rate. So you can see here, this has got nice kind of curvy pointy bits, so you can visually recognise it as well. Notice in the name, bottom left, it says T2 Land Factory HQ. You probably can't read that on the resolution that I'm streaming this at. But yes, this is my HQ factory. Now there's nothing to stop me building this into another HQ factory. I can, even, you know, there's no problem with that. But it actually costs more resources to do so. Now what I can do is just build a Tech 2 land factory. And if I click on that and unpause it and get these guys to help, you'll see that when it builds, it does look ever so slightly different to this one. I think basically the kind of corner bits aren't quite as wide, it's kind of slightly more compact, stays more in the kind of circular viewpoint of it, but still has these 2 parts that come up and then split across, as you can see. And the purpose here is it can build it faster and it costs less resources. Now the risk is that if this one gets blown up, even though this is a Tech 2 factory, it will not be able to build anything but Tech 1 units. It'll, you know, it's still, it's not that it's not useful, but it won't be able to build them. And if you've got an infinite build queue on, it will actually just basically skip through all the units, not being able to produce them. So you get the benefit of being able to produce to build the factories faster and for less cost. What you lose is that if this was to get blown up, you have a problem here. And again, visually you can see the difference. It's got the wider points here, and in fact it's got not just wider. There's an extra set of them compared to this one. It's just the one set, but you can still see the two towers on it. And I can't upgrade this one at the moment to Tech 3. Whereas this one does have the Tech 3 upgrade. So you always have to have a land factory at the Tech first. So it means I've got to upgrade this factory as well before I can upgrade that factory. I would always just build HQs, constantly build HQs, because that way there was never any issues. That said, there's only been one time where I've fallen foul to the HQ being blown up and not being able to build units. And it was a bit of a pain, but that was probably because I'd placed my HQ in the wrong place of my base to defend against it, in all honesty. So again, play around with some of these in terms of just, you know, little quirks with how to build. You can see my engineers have gone off and built a few things there, and now these guys are here. They've upgraded that one and building those. So all this time we've been speaking, my economy has effectively been sorting itself out. What I will point out though is this little quirk here. So I had 5, that's 4, and this one. So this one is now left building these mass storage around it. But weirdly, these guys, and there's probably a reason for it, even F. Odin and Mr. Wari may know the reason for this, but these 4 have gone off and they're going to come and they're going to upgrade this one first, instead of helping this one build these mass storage. Again, not quite sure why they do that sometimes, but I have noticed it. It's definitely something I've seen. So, your friends here, certainly at the early stages, certainly at the efficiencies, is monitoring this streaming economy as you build stuff. As I mentioned, you know, the building a factory first definitely is going to put you into negative as soon as you start from a streaming economy point of view, but you've got the buffer, you've got that stored mass and power to be able to build that factory before you run out, even before there's a need to have income other than your commander's income, because your commander has a small amount of income. You do need to very quickly then build you know, a mass pump and build power, and I would say swap between those two. So mass power, you know, until you get up to about 4 or so, and then that's a factory. And then again, the exact maths and numbers, I'm not gonna suggest exactly what they are. I think, you know, learn them. Certainly things to watch out for is air, for example, is more power heavy, so if you're wanting to go for a bit of a quick air attack, then you're going to need more power. And from a boat side of things, if you're playing a water map, boats are more mass heavy, so you need more mass for boats, you need more power for planes than you would, whereas if you're just building land units, you just need a fairly even amount of the two. When this is flashing, especially for the mass, it's going, this is terrible because you're wasting as a mass, you need to build lots of things. But yeah, these are the things that I find people that I see streaming who kind of, you know, are playing the game but aren't picking up these things particularly, and it's really down to some of these shortcut keys. So getting back to the Control Z one, which is again one of my favourite ones, you know, by doing this I've now selected all my Tech 1 engineers here. So at this point I would be building Tech 2 engineers and doing Tech 2 upgrades, but the Tech 1 engineers still have a use, and if you wanted to increase the output of these, you might not even build a Tech 2 engineers, you might just keep, you know, have an army of Tech 1s that you've been building to support these and to get units coming out. And because of course there are the commander upgrades, which again hopefully everyone who plays the game knows about these. They're down in this enhancements menu down here, where you can build shields and razes, which provide additional resources but cost a lot. And you can upgrade the commanders so they can build Tech 1 and Tech 2. Sorry, they can build Tech 1 already. But when you get to the Tech 2 upgrade, it actually opens up some of the additional Tech 1 buildings. You can't build radar, but you can with the Tech 1 engineer. when you've upgraded your commander, the Tech 1 options increase as well, so you can build Tech 1 radar. So yeah, so don't, you know, I'm not going to again say should you really be doing command upgrades or building Tech 2 land units, you know, Tech 2 engineers from your factories. It kind of depends really on how the game's going. This is why I said definitely have a plan. Definitely think to yourself, okay, you know, it's this map. This is generally what I'm going to do. You know, to an extent, it's a land map. I'm going to build tanks and land units. It's a small map with a short distance, for example, in this one. So definitely I need to build some Tech 1. I can't get away with trying to skip to a Tech or anything because there's going to be an engagement. If it was a huge map, you know, by the time Tech 1 has started to have a fight, you know, it's probably a waste of time. You're basically just delivering some mass to the enemy. So, other thing which I think is critical, and that certainly wouldn't probably be obvious to new players, and that is what I just said there: delivering mass to your enemy. All your building, all your buildings or your units, everything that you build, basically when destroyed, will leave behind a carcass, and that can be reclaimed. Generally, the way that I do the reclaiming is I'll tell my units here to move to a point, and then I'll set a patrol pattern, so they'll basically move backwards and forwards. But whilst doing that, these small boulders here, you can see when I put a mouse over them, are actually reclaimable for resources, and there's some more over here, and on a map where we've got some greenery and things, you know, trees can even be reclaimed. And you'll notice that at this point in time they're just moving backwards and forwards because I've got tons of mass and power. Well, I've got tons for what I need at this stage of the game. But if I didn't have, they would be sucking up all this stuff. So if I manually tell one of these guys to do that, you'll see it literally just pulled that in. And that's giving me, you probably can't really see it, it's happening too quickly, but if every time I do that, for the period of time that it's absorbing that, I'm getting an increase to my mass. There's something bigger, let's see if that one does it for a bit longer. And again, early game, effectively this would enable you very quickly to gain more mass or power than potentially one of your enemies. So look around the map. So again, there's huge bits over here. You can tell my commanders to do it. So my commander's now pulling, there you go. That didn't last very long, but at the point that tripled my mass income, roughly, as I was doing that. So that small amount of mass can basically be that difference between getting one of your mass pumps upgraded slightly faster, you know, whereas you might have been sending your units to go round and to upgrade one of these mass points in the queue like I showed you. It might actually be that by doing some reclaiming you can have them doing that one upgrade, but also get your commander to potentially say upgrade this one that's powering these two factories, or even just, you know, click the upgrade and don't pause it, so that it does that process itself, because you're getting some of the extra mass and storing it. Of course, caveat that it's quite good that when you tell these guys to patrol, they don't just manually go away. All this extra mass that I've been absorbing from eating into these things that are around is wasted because I'm not storing it. I'm already maxed out from this economy. So, you know, so what should I be aiming for? Well, really, throughout the entire game, I want to effectively never fill up, but never get to the bottom. So anywhere in the middle of these bars, and a figure that kind of goes up, you know, positive and then goes down, but as close to zero as I can really get. If I'm doing that, what that means is I'm actually utilising all of my mass and power that I've got coming in. I'm doing something useful, something positive with all of the income that I've got. I don't want to bottom it out, and I certainly don't want to bottom it out on power, because then when you bottom out on power, you'll see that these mass pumps use power. So if I'm reducing power, I'm actually reducing my mass income as well, which is something that, again, you wouldn't necessarily think about. So these are these kind of, again, what I kind of dubbed improvement concepts, where once you start thinking in this way, it's not a case of, oh, right, okay, so I need to build 20 Tech 1 power. But what it will make you think is, okay, at the moment, I'm struggling for power. Right, the answer isn't necessarily to try and build the biggest power that you can. So let's say if you're at Tech 2, right, I'm just going to build tons, I'm going to build a big Tech 2 power station. That'll solve all my power needs. And you know what, it will, but if you're already struggling for power or mass or any of those, it's going to cost you more from a streaming income perspective to build the Tech 2, not just in total, but in terms of the impact to the positive negative amount coming in of your resources than building some Tech 1. So like I did here, if you actually just need to shore up your power a little bit, that can be more beneficial to do that first than trying to jump ahead. I've certainly done it myself, but certainly seen some of my friends do it as well, where it's like, I've got a power problem, I'm going to build a Tech 3 power because I can. Actually, you might find it quicker to build Tech 2. So, and that's not that you should, it's not that building a Tech 3 power would be bad, but if it does crash your economy, it's bad. So think of this again as a balancing act. Some of these things as well then will just become second nature to you. So as I mentioned, this upgrading of these points and going around, it might be that it's overkill to put 4 around each one before upgrading the next one. You might actually just say, upgrade them as I go. But see what your economy is doing at the time. If you're building enough units here and you seem to be overpowering the enemy, well, you probably should be attacking more and taking advantage of the fact that you're overpowering the enemy. But if there is a small window where actually it's not worth me building any more Tech 1 units or Tech 2 units, so you know what, cancel the build queue or pause it periodically while you do the upgrade. If you've been running at a negative and eating into some of this buffer, and you're like, that's going to be okay, but then the battle goes a bit differently, or someone destroys some of your mass pumps, don't just think, something's been destroyed, I'm going to have to rebuild that. Think of the impact that's having on the economy. Have a quick glance up and see, right, okay, that's made a dent in that. What do I need then? Can I pause an upgrade or something? Can I tell my units to move? Most of these things you can turn on and off, so even from a power point of view, if you needed to turn your radar off, because ultimately radar is absorbing some of your power from your streaming economy, you might turn it off briefly, don't forget to turn it back on though, in order to just balance the equation a little bit more. And that's one of the key concepts of the game, is this streaming economy. So, briefly recapping, because I've already been on longer than I was planning to be on, and I don't want this to again be a headache for people who are again not brand new to the game, but who've been playing Supreme Commander and still love it, but haven't really got into Forge Alliance forever, which I've talked about at the beginning, but also just aren't kind of don't seem to potentially be getting better at the game, or have tried playing online with some people and it's just been like a complete headache, and you've just felt like you're completely outclassed. Again, these are some of the things to think about, to consider as you're playing the game, and hopefully some of the suggestions I've made here will kind of take away some of the overheads you had. When I was talking about using Control Z to select all the units of the same type, like I've just done there, you can see all of my Tech 1s have been selected. Small things like that you can do even here. So I could pick that up, Control Z. I know my units from this minimap are floating around everywhere, but if I then say I want you all to come over and upgrade this, I could click on that now and they all would. And I haven't had to zoom out, I haven't had to find them, I haven't had to, and then shift to select that one, and then shift click to select that one. I can just grab all of those types. Small things like that can just take some of the overhead of managing fights, managing how you're building things. But yeah, keep thinking streaming economy, keep thinking what can I reclaim around the area, understand the value of not just the adjacency bonuses. I mean, that's a key concept, don't get me wrong, but understand what other things these are providing along the lines of it. So building some energy storage as well as a buffer there. It's one of the things again I neglect quite a bit. And some adjacency bonuses aren't worth it when stuff explodes, like your Tech 1 power. It might destroy all your storage as well, which then puts you in an even worse position than just having that power blown up. because if the storage is still there, you've still got that buffer, which again can take the edge off losing things in a fight. Don't forget about the HQ upgrades. It might be that you want a couple of HQs. You know, you might have a HQ back, well, maybe not on this map, but back somewhere hidden out of the way, so that if you lose this one, it's not a problem. But then think about the fact that you might want to build that one further back anyway. Certainly early game, you might want to build the 2 factories at Tech 1 to start streaming units out. Maybe put another Tech 1 at the back, still streaming units out, but then perhaps that's the one that you upgrade if it's in a slightly more defensible position. Knowing that if you do lose your HQ, you can then build the Tech 2 units in your non-HQ factory. A little bit on the Control Z side of things as well is just, if I quickly select some of these units, I then Control Z and it selects units of all that type, and something that could be missed is you can then assign those to numbers by using control and 1 to 0. You can set groups. Now what that does is it makes it very easy to build on an army. So if I've selected all these guys, I press Control 1, you can see 1 now appears underneath all of them, and that's my army. Now the beauty of this is adding to the army is really straightforward. If I was to build some more of these Tech 1 units, I'm just going to send them, I'm going to tell them to go to there, and get these guys to move here. If I have this selected, or my commander, if I press 1 it will select those. If I then press Ctrl Z, it selected this unit that's come out. If I then give a move command, that move command applies to that unit as well, and they will all bunch up. So again, those are little shortcuts. If you get very quick at pressing the shortcut keys, it can slow down that kind of, select, I'm now trying to select over here, I'm now trying to move. Yeah, whilst they're great, also you know, be careful what you are clicking, and then there are lots more shortcut keys too. But yeah, I think that's really what I wanted to put out there from this video point of view. It's been great to have F Odin and Mr. Wary, certainly at the beginning, talking through some of the benefits that Forged Alliance Forever brings. You know, the scaling GUI, the stability that is brought to the game. Again, from the netcode aspect, is just, I don't know, that's the thing that makes me the most happiest about it. Forget balancing and everything else, just the improvements to the net side of things. So if you are playing Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, or you should be playing with Forged Alliance Forever, you should be playing it through that. Again, I think go back to the beginning of the video and you'll be able to see going through the website for that. Hopefully some of these concepts are good. Again, my goal here has really been about getting you to think about things slightly differently than perhaps you might have been. This might all have been completely pointless to you. If so, that's great. This will be on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure comments should be enabled. Say so, or even come and find me in a game of FAF, and help me improve if you've got some good ideas. I think, as I mentioned before, F Odin and Mr. Wary managed to, just the 2 of them, beat me and 4 of my friends in a 5 versus 2, which I'm not going to say was embarrassing, but it was entertaining. So yeah, there's lots that I still need to learn, but I think there's possibly a bigger community of players of Supreme Commander Forged Alliance, or certainly players who strategy players who aren't playing this game but that might really enjoy it. And if some of these concepts that I've gone through help a bit with the thinking process of adapting and improving, then yeah, that was the point of the video. Yeah, I think I will end there. Thanks very much again, Mr. Wary, for joining and chatting through some of the stuff that's there. Again, it's not a tutorial. Apologies if you started watching thinking that. I tried to make the title specific. But yeah, thanks to anyone who watches now or on YouTube, and enjoy Supreme Commander Forged Alliance. And pretty much, if you want to play with people, get in there, get on the chat, and chat with me in my streams. I'm happy to play with people, as are most of my friends as well. So again, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed. bye bye for now.